October 14th, 9:41 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 4. Und damit, BAM, Leute! Herzlich willkommen zurück zu Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Trials and Tribulations. Im letzten Akt vom Stolen Turnabout. Wir sind im Gerichtssaal und müssen jetzt ein weiteres Mal unseren Klienten, dessen Namen ich diesmal nicht vergessen habe, nämlich heißt der Ron DeLite, zum zweiten Mal verteidigen. Diesmal in einem Mordfall im KB Security CEO Office. Da wurde der CEO höchstpersönlich umgemurkst und unser Ron DeLite war leider Gottes auch anwesend, wegen einem Blackmail-Letter. Wurde ausgenockt, wahrscheinlich vom wahren Mörder. Und jetzt sind wir hier. Ich habe übrigens meinen Controller wieder ausgetauscht. So geil wie er auch ist und so angenehm er auch ist, er ist zu laut. Habe ich im letzten Part gemerkt. Von daher wieder die läppischen hier, wie heißen die? Einfach die normalen Klick-Klack-Controller von der Switch da, ne? Ihr wisst schon. Ja, ne? Also. Let's go. Hey, Nick. What is it this time? You won't believe how many people are here for the trial. Well, it is a murder case. What are you talking about? They're here for the trial next door. Next door? Why don't you know this, Nick? They're having Detective Admi's trial today. Huh? Detective Admi? They say they're going to try him as Mask the Mask. Ach so. Already? That was fast. Ja, gut, unser Trial ist ja auch schon jetzt, also, ne? Boy, I'd love to see Mask the Mask's trial. I know. Wer ist das? By the way, where's Pearls? Oh, she went back home. She said she can't neglect her training anymore. I know you don't like me. Es ist Gumshoe. Oder? Ich weiß nicht. Pearls has really gotten into her training lately, huh? Ja, sie überholt dich noch mal, ja. Yeah, ever since that incident last year. Oh, please! Das ist er. Don't ignore me! Ow, Mr. DeLite, good morning. No one likes me. No one would notice me even if I killed someone. Come on, don't be silly. Wait a second. You know what I mean? You're the murderer? No, I'm just a poor thief. No, wait, that's not right. A thief can't really be poor. Now, let's see. According to Mr. DeLite, from his second crime on, he was following a bunch of set plans. Ach ja, genau, er hat die Diebstahlpläne, die Überfallpläne, hat er von jemand anderem bekommen. Plans that someone had been sending to him to help him commit these heists. Do you really think there's a connection between the thief and the murderer, Nick? It's possible, but today's trial is a race against the clock. How come? Let's just take our time like always. I'm afraid that's not an option. Huh? Why? Okay, Courtroom Number 6. Und der Kaffeesuchti ist auch wieder da. Court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Ron DeLite. The defense is ready, Your Honor. You're ready? Preparation is the last refuge of the week. Ich muss erstmal die Stimme wieder können. Okay, settle down, everyone. Let's begin with your opening statement, Mr. Godot. He's got the judge in the palm of his hand yet again. Ron DeLite is simply too young to be sent to war. That's all. I'm afraid I have no idea what that means, Mr. Godot. And you need to get out more, Your Honor. Life is war, but that is exactly why you must be more precise in your wording. That's all my statement means. You understand now, right? Yes, well then, let me briefly summarize the details of this case. Wow, judge is taking charge like he knows what's going on for a change. The victim is Kane Bullard, CEO of KB Security. Das Face, Alter. His body was found in a safe at approximately 9 AM on the morning of the 13th. However, the time of death was estimated at 1 AM the previous day. And that's when our little lost kitten dropped the ball. That little lost kitten is, of course, the defendant. Very well then, Mr. Godot, please call your first witness. I never drink more than 17 cups of coffee during any given trial. But the first one is always the best. Mr. Godot, your witness. Ah, gönn ihm doch sein Morgenkaffee. Ist es morgen? Ich weiß es nicht mehr. Es ist 10 Uhr. Naja, gut. So fast. Okay, then. Let's hear what the defendant, Mr. DeLite, has to say for himself. The defendant? Well, Mr. Wright, does the defense have any objections? Maybe a bit of a disadvantage having the defendant testify, but... Ach ja? I remember when Mia was defending me. She allowed me to testify so she could do the cross-examination. She put a lot of trust in me back then. We have no objections, Your Honor. The defense will allow Mr. DeLite to testify. You've got guts, try it. Alright then, Mr. Ron DeLite, please take the stand. You did it, didn't you? Yes. What? No, that's not true. For a moment there I thought we'd set the record for the shortest trial ever. Well, Mr. DeLite already looks pretty guilty with that face he's making. And once he opens his big mouth, he'll probably put the last nail in his coffin. Very well. Now then, can you tell me something? If you didn't kill Bullard, why did you go to KB Security? Well, that's kind of hard to say. Boy, I wish I could go home. Now then, let's hear some testimony about what happened. Alrighty. My visit to KB Security. That evening around 1 AM I went to see Mr. Bullard in his office at KB Security. The blackmail letter I got, it ordered me to go there. I had been working for KB Security until a year ago, so I knew where his office was. Ja, soweit ja eigentlich alles korrekt. 1 AM, the exact time the murder took place. The weak get washed away by the tides of fate. The strong drink it up. It's bitter today, just like my destiny. You never know that from the way he's chugging it down. Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, if you please. Da war eigentlich nichts Seltsames dabei. Ja, wir pressen einfach mal alles. 1 AM, huh? You're absolutely sure about that? Yes, that's what my watch said when I was entering the CEO's office. No. Actually, I'm not really sure. My watch was slow and my internal clock was also a bit... 1 AM, that's the exact time the victim, Mr. Bullard, was murdered, correct? It's too late for a coffee date, that's for sure. Blackmail letter I got, it ordered me to go there. Yes. It ordered you there. It was the first time I got a blackmail letter that ordered me to go somewhere. Does that mean you've gotten other blackmail letters then? Oh, of course. They'd say things like, steal this or take that. Why don't you save those for later, Mr. DeLite? Please don't say any more. Now, what should I do? Press hard or leave it? Ach komm! Drücken! So, what did the blackmail letter in question say? It said to bring $50,000.
Money, eh? Perfect motive for committing murder.
Oh, but wait! I never intended to pay that money anyway.
Oh, is that right?
After all, he had nothing to hold over my head. I had nothing to be afraid of.
Important point, indeed. Witness, let's have that added to your testimony.
Yes, sir. Ah, doch, ich sehe schon.
Huh?
Muddy Mud Skipper in outer space has better chance of surviving than I do. Ja, ich hab's schon gesehen hier. Didn't scare me, it wasn't going to cause me trouble or anything. Weil wir haben ja den Blackmail Letter itself. Und da steht ja, if you don't, I'll take that red diamond you received the other day instead. Oder, your true identity revealed to the world. Ja, wir drücken einfach mal, da gibt's einiges. Präsent. Nicht? Wait a minute. Es ist doch ganz klare Contradiction. Bin ich dumm? Wir pressen mal. Just what were you being blackmailed about anyway?
Blackmail.
Okay, gut.
The blackmail letter said if you don't want your identity revealed, correct?
I'm sure it was referring to the whole mask the mask thing. But I wasn't worried. Mr. Bullet didn't have anything on me.
He didn't.
Anyway, I don't care about what anyone says about me. Just as long as Tessie believes in me. So that's why Mrs. DeLite didn't believe he was Mask the Mask. That's why I knew they were just hollow threats. Okay, wir pressen mal hier weiter. You used to be security chief for KB Security, right? Yes, that's right.
Security chief, you? And yet, a year ago, you were fired without notice. Revenge for an old grudge? A perfect motive for murder, wouldn't you say?
This isn't good. Maybe I should change the subject. Life after being fired. Why he was fired? Don't say anything. Maybe why he was fired. Mr. DeLite, please tell us why you were fired from your job. Well...
The world is filled with those who have said, I wish I had never asked that.
Okay, then I take it back.
Defendant, please answer the question.
Well, I needed money.
You needed money?
Well, you see, Tessie loves to spend it. It's kind of her hobby.
Not exactly the best hobby in the world, huh, Nick?
You want to talk? Wer wollte hier nochmal ein Motorrad? My salary wasn't nearly enough, so I stole data from the company. Come again? KB Security has a lot of security info in all sorts of companies. And since I was a security team chief...
You stole some data and sold it.
Mr. Purtle found out and I was fired immediately. What? I wish I had never asked that. I was somehow able to keep it a secret and made it seem like I had quit my own job.
What is it, Nick? You don't look so good. Someone who brings harm to their company is fired as punishment. You'd do well to remember that.
He sure told you.
So you admit that you stole data from your company, is that correct?
Yes, I'm sorry.
It's a very important fact. Please add it to your testimony.
Oh man, this whole thing just took a big turn for the worse. Crashed and blew up. Aber ich glaube, wir haben jetzt was. It's gonna take the jaws of life to rip this case from the clutches of disaster. Invite me for selling company secrets, but Desi doesn't know about it. Ja, richtig, genau, weil das war jetzt der richtige Thread. Aber ich drücke das am besten nochmal, damit wir auch wirklich sicher sind, dass wir das gespeichert haben, diese Info. Why would you do something like that? Well, for Desi's hobby, what else? Wasting money, huh? It's not a waste. So, Mrs. DeLite doesn't know that her husband was fired, does she? So it would seem. I'm not sure what to think about couples who keep secrets like that from each other. I can't believe it. This case has gotten even Maya to think seriously about couples. Please try to stay focused, Mr. Wright. There wasn't much to his testimony, was there? Sounds like he's avoiding something. At least that's what it sounds like to me. Oh, I've got a bad feeling about this. We better be careful. If we don't find a way to make him spill the beans, we'll never get closer to the truth. Yeah. Also jetzt muss ich wahrscheinlich das nochmal drücken, ne? Wahrscheinlich kriegen wir jetzt einen neuen Text. Genau, what were you being blackmailed about? Ja, hier. Er ist diesmal der den Move macht.
I'm afraid that reason isn't going to hold up anymore.
What do you mean?
The victim had no proof the defendant was masked the mask. But you were the one who stole company secrets only 1 year earlier.
But that was all over with once I was fired. But it is true that the fact I stole secrets was kept under wraps. Even so, there was no reason for me to pay up now, a whole year later. Is that really true?
What is it, Nick?
The fact that Ron was dealing company data. I wonder if he would have had a problem if that ever became public knowledge. Ja, wegen Desi halt, ne? Seiner Waifu. Mr. DeLite, I believe you would have been in considerable trouble if her identity as a company data thief was made public. Vor allem, dann weiß ich auch, dass du nicht mehr arbeitest, sondern, ne, ein bisschen shady Sachen machst.
Mr. Wright, what are you trying to do by bullying your own client? Men are like colonies of bacteria. The more heat you apply, the faster they grow.
That's exactly right.
Well then, feel free to keep up the heat, my little lawyer amigo.
Little lawyer amigo?
Yes, come now on. Provide some evidence to back up your assertion.
Whoop.
Why would Mr. DeLite want to keep his data stealing secret from going public?
Also ich hätte jetzt gesagt, es wäre das, aber ich gucke hier sicherheitshalber nochmal durch. Also hier in der Evidence wird wahrscheinlich nichts sein. Kane's List? Nee, ne? Ja, ich würde sagen, Desi, ne? Ich habe jetzt nichts anderes sonst gefunden. Was ist eigentlich hier noch? Ah ja. Ich glaube, es ist richtig. Mr. DeLite, what you said just now doesn't match what you told me yesterday.
What doesn't?
I think you must have been scared, very scared, of having a certain person find out your secret.
A certain person?
Miss Desiree DeLite, the defendant's wife. Well, but listen to me, my Desi, she's...
Looks like if I just sit back and relax, the fun will end before it truly begins. Godot. Yes, we know. It was all your wife's fault.
What do you mean?
Mr. DeLite stole company data to pay for his wife's spending habit, for which he was fired. Unable to face his own wife, someone used his dirty little secret to blackmail him. And that is how this murder came about.
Oh, no, not everything is falling neatly into place for him. Don't talk about my Desi like that, or you'll be sorry. Okay. Go get him.
Well, it seems that we've learned a great deal of things here so far.
Ist es wirklich so wichtig? Na gut, ja, Motiv haben wir jetzt. Ja, okay. Wir haben jetzt ein gutes Motiv erschaffen. Well, what do you think, Nick? I didn't think it was possible to get so thoroughly whipped in just 20 minutes.
Clearly there was sufficient motive for murder. He stole data for his wife and he killed to protect his secret. Family man who cared just a little too much. The motive is clear. Let's move on now. What happened at the crime scene at 1 in the morning, Mr. DeLite? Come now, tell us. We're all ears.
At the CEO's office. When I entered the office, there was a suspicious shadow there. Suddenly, I was hit on the forehead. After that, I remember being a bit dazed. If I hadn't been wearing that, I would have been killed. Wearing what? I don't know. When I came to, Mr. Pollard was lying there, dead.
I see. Suddenly hit on the forehead, huh? I believe the detective from yesterday provided similar testimony. He said that the mask struck him on the head from behind.
Of course, since Admi turned out to be the culprit himself, that was all a lie.
Huh. No one's going to believe a pathetic lie like that.
What are you saying? I really was attacked.
We'll find out if what he says is true or not during the cross-examination. Got that, Mr. Wright? Don't go easy just because he's your client. If I see any sign that you are, I'll treat you to another cup of my special blend.
You don't need to worry about that, Mr. Godot. I have faith in Ron. I know he didn't do it. Okay. Suspicious Shadow. Wahrscheinlich hast du nix gesehen, ne? Who was this suspicious shadow? If there were thousands of me and if even one knew, I'd tell you, trust me. He's dodging all of our questions. He's dodging all of our questions, not helping us win this case. Okay, then how was the victim, Mr. Bullard, at that time? What do you mean by how was he? Was he already dead? Was he still alive? Maybe he was the one who hit you in the first place. That's a good question. What do you think, Mr. Wright? Forget it. Okay. Your forehead. Yes, I was hit on the forehead as soon as I entered the room. It was an amazingly fast and powerful attack. Do you remember anything about who hit you? Well, like I said, it was a fast and powerful hit, so I think I was a little dazed for a while. I dodged wirklich alle Fragen. I don't think Mr. DeLite even grasped what you were asking. Yeah, I'd like to show him a fast and powerful attack myself. Maybe that would knock some sense back into him. Genau, wearing that. Was hast du getragen? That? Could you please clarify what you are referring to? Why, my Mask the Mask costume, of course.
But wait just a moment. Mask the Mask?
Huh? Oh, did I forget to mention it before? Just to be on the safe side, I dressed as Mask the Mask. And then I descended upon the office of the CEO of KB Security.
What?
Nick, did you know about this? You never told me this. I don't recall him ever mentioning it to me either.
Even I didn't know that. It seems our little friend really loves to keep secrets.
I'm sorry, I just never had a chance to mention it up until now. Wait. That's not right. You know how sometimes things just slip your mind?
My sixth cup of coffee is starting up at me coldly. At any rate, we can't ignore this new piece of information. Witness, please, correct your testimony.
My Mask the Mask costume. Why were you dressed up as Mask the Mask? Why? Because I am Mask the Mask, of course.
What are you talking about? Mask the Mask's trial is being held next door.
Yes, I guess so. Anyway, at that time, I thought I was being blackmailed over the Mask the Mask issue. So I thought I should go as him, just to be safe. Oh boy. Let me tell you, it's a real pain to move around with that cape. That's why it took a lot longer than I expected.
Took a lot longer? What is he talking about?
Yeah, press harder. What do you mean by took a lot longer? Oh, opening the safe, of course. Oh, Jesus. Bitte sag das jetzt nicht auch noch. My cape got caught in the safe door, you see. This all happened when I was hiding Mr. Bruller's body.
What was that? Back up a second.
Yes.
You were the one that hid the body in the safe?
Well, yeah.
Inconceivable. Why? Just why? What reason could you have? What were you thinking? Question. When does someone toss their dirty shorts in the washing machine? What? The answer is simple. When they take them off. As usual, I have no idea what you're saying.
Do you mean that Mr. DeLite hid the body because he's the murderer?
So you're not as stupid as you look.
His metaphor this time was really obscure.
Mr. Wright, you don't mean that you knew about this whole safe business, do you?
Well, yes.
Why am I the only one not in the loop here? Witness, make sure you add this to the testimony.
Yes, sir. Oh, looks like a storm front is moving in over the fair weather judge. I panicked and hid the body in the safe. It took about 10 minutes. Okay, wir haben eine Zeitangabe jetzt. Why did you hid the body in the safe anyway? Well, because it wouldn't fit in a drawer. That's not exactly what I meant. When I saw that corpse, I kind of lost it. I thought, if they find his corpse, they'll think I did it.
I think you had a simpler reason than that. It's because you killed him. I spent 10 minutes hiding the body. That certainly makes more sense.
Hold on. 10 minutes?
What is it, Nick?
I just had a thought. Under those circumstances, would you normally try to hide the body? And spend 10 whole minutes to do it? What do you mean? Under those circumstances? What circumstances? Oh! Hey Nick, if you think his behavior was so strange, why don't you present some evidence that would show just what those circumstances were? That's it. I'll take a look at the court record and present some evidence. We heard this from Mr. DeLite yesterday, didn't we? There's not much in his testimony either. I betcha he's still hiding something. I wouldn't be surprised. We'll just have to draw it out of him. I just hope he doesn't make things any more complicated. Moment. Under these circumstances. Also wir haben jetzt eine Zeitangabe. It took about 10 minutes, was recht lang ist. Um halt, ja, etwas in den Safe zu stecken. I panicked and hid the body in the safe. Ich trinke mal ein Schlückchen, währenddem ich hier mal in der Evidence herumkrame, ne? Moment. Hätte er den Knopf gedrückt? Er hat sein Kostüm an, ne? Das will ich erstmal checken. Ja, er hat Handschuhe, ne? Also, wenn er den Knopf drücken würde, würde es keine Fingerabdrücke geben. Das ist korrekt. Das heißt, er könnte ihn gedrückt haben. Aber wobei, nee, warte mal. Es ist völlig egal, ob er es gedrückt hat. Fakt ist, der Alarm ging ja los, ne? The buzzer went off once at 1:02. Das heißt, direkt nach dem Mord ging der Buzzer los. Von wem auch immer, ist ja völlig egal. Aber das heißt, wenn der Alarm am Laufen war, warum soll der dann 10 Minuten Zeit damit verbringen, hier schön im Office, ne, den Body zu verstecken? Würde ja keinen Sinn machen, er würde ja lieber fliegen. I see. Your Honor, could you please take a look at this record? And what might this be? The record for the emergency buzzer that connects the CEO's office to security. If the button in the office is pressed, a security team is supposed to come running. And according to this record, the buzzer was pushed once at 1:02 a.m. What? If Mr. DeLite truly was the murderer, he would have ran as soon as the buzzer sounded. After all, a security guard would have been heading his way.
Huh. Let's remember who we're dealing with here. They probably had no idea there was security personnel in the building.
Up until 1 year ago, my client was working as a chief of security. There's no way he wouldn't have known about them.
But, as it turns out, the guard never came.
That was nothing more than a coincidence. The fact that the guard was a pathetic loser who had just gotten punched in the face by his ex's new boyfriend and wasn't anywhere in the vicinity was not something Mr. DeLite could have known.
Again, remember who we're dealing with here. It's a sure bet that Mr. DeLite didn't even notice the buzzer going off.
Why? This buzzer is extremely loud. There is no way he could have ignored something like that. If he had been conscious, that is.
Conscious? Do you mean... What do you mean by that? Fine. Let's hear your theory.
Recall the defendant's testimony. The moment he entered the victim's office, someone attacked him. Mr. DeLite said he felt dazed. I'm willing to wager that he was knocked unconscious for at least a few minutes.
Unconscious, so he fainted.
That's why Mr. DeLite didn't know that the buzzer had sounded. And that's why he thought he had time to hide the body.
Aber wer hat den Buzzer dann ausgestellt eigentlich?
Geht er einfach alleine wieder aus? Oder müsste er dann nicht die ganze Nacht durchbuzzern, weil Larry halt nicht an seinem Platz war und ihn nicht ausgeschalten hat?
So what are you trying to say?
Mr. DeLite was knocked out and the buzzer went off soon afterwards. Now, unless my client was able to hit the buzzer while he was unconscious, it can only mean that there was another person in that room. That's right, whoever it was, they knocked out DeLite and then pressed the buzzer.
Order in the court! Mr. Wright, this is... This is preposterous. It was this kid. DeLite is the one who killed Kane Bullard.
Then who pressed the buzzer?
It was... the victim, of course. He pressed the buzzer when the defendant attacked him. He didn't die right away. He must have held on long enough to push that button. So Kane Bullard sounded the buzzer himself. What is your opinion on this, Mr. Wright?
I need to prove that the real criminal was there at the scene. But how? Can I prove that it wasn't Kane Bullard who sounded the buzzer? Wait. Also, das können wir, glaube ich, nicht nachgucken, ne? Aber ich nehme mal an, er wird keine Handschuhe getragen haben, oder? Warum auch? Ja, ich denke mal, es geht um die Fingerabdrücke am Buzzer. Wir können zwar nicht beweisen, dass er keine Handschuhe getragen hat, aber wer trägt einfach so Handschuhe, während er im Office ist? No fingerprints on it. Ah, ich muss ja erst, ne? I can prove it alright. Defense opinion is this, Your Honor. This piece of evidence proves that it wasn't the victim who sounded the buzzer. The buzzer himself. I believe this is the piece of incontrovertible evidence you were looking for. The emergency buzzer. Is there some kind of clue on it? Absolutely not.
Hey, come on now, at least give some thought to what you say before opening your mouth.
The fact that there are absolutely no clues is itself the clue.
Now I'm the one who's clueless.
This button has no fingerprints on it. If Mr. Bullet had really pressed it himself, naturally he would have left his fingerprints behind.
Ron DeLite obviously wiped them off.
Why would he? A guard could have come in at any moment.
He touched that button, I know he did.
The defendant, Mr. DeLite, was dressed as Mask the Mask. And Mask the Mask always wears gloves. What reason could he possibly have to wipe the button free of fingerprints? True.
Order, order, order! It would seem. I've been forced to eat crow.
I wonder what blend number crow-flavored coffee is.
However, if the real killer was there at the scene, why would that person press the emergency buzzer?
Yeah, to blame Ron DeLite.
Shouldn't they have run away without putting themselves in extra danger?
The killer is Larry.
What's with this awkward silence all of a sudden? Looks like you're fresh out of parlor tricks.
They're on to you, Nick. Just give me a minute to collect my thoughts. The real culprit killed Mr. Bullet at around 1 a.m. And Mr. DeLite just happened to waltz in when the murder was taking place, right? Oh, das war Maya Hoops. The killer clobbered Mr. DeLite and then sounded the buzzer. Even though security was supposed to respond right away if the buzzer was pressed, security was supposed to respond.
Time's up, Mr. Wright. Let's hear what you have to say.
Very well then.
Oh, you've got some guts. I like that in an opponent. Why did the real killer sound the emergency buzzer?
They didn't mean to call the security guard to find out what it did. Also, klar. They didn't mean to or to call the security guard. Ja, wahrscheinlich to call the security guard, damit er es so spielen kann. Ey, guck mal hier. Mask the Mask hat ihn einfach umgenockt. Ausgenockt. Und ich habe ihn jetzt umgenockt. Wahrscheinlich, ne? The killer knew that if they pressed that button, a guard would come running. And that was exactly what they wanted.
Do you mean to say the killer called the guard on purpose?
Yes, although as it turned out, he never showed up. Because he was getting his clock cleaned at the time.
What a touching story. You're saying the killer had a change of heart and called the guard to turn himself in?
No, I'm not. When a buzzer sounded, there were 3 people in that office. The victim came Bullard, who was already dead. The defendant, Ron DeLite, who was out cold. And the third person, the real killer. Also nochmal, ist ja offensichtlich, wer dieser Schatten ist. Da wäre nicht nötig gewesen, das zu zeigen.
Hypothetically, yes.
Now then, in this situation, if the real killer made an escape, what would happen? The only ones left in the room would be the victim and DeLite. And if any security guards came running in at the time, they would think that I was the murderer. Yes, that was precisely the real killer's objective. To frame DeLite for the murder. Gluck.
Order, order, order! It would seem I've been made to eat my words once again.
Actually, you've been made to do a spit take with a cup of coffee. Mr. Wright, who was it? Who was it that tried to frame me? Wait a second. I am the one and only Mask the Mask, so...
Nick, you mean the real killer is...
We're going to drag that person in here right now.
But who is it?
I haven't found any solid proof yet. But think about it. The killer knew Mr. DeLite's identity. And they also knew that he had been called to KB security that night. So the killer used him to execute a well-crafted plan to murder Kane Buller.
Now then, let's hear your accusation, Mr. Wright. Who was it that framed Mr. DeLite for the murder of Kane Bullard?
Also, ich meine, es ist offensichtlich, wen er meint. Aber ich kann, also, wenn wir es jetzt nicht wüssten, hier als Spieler, ne? Was ist die Schlussfolgerung? Also, wie kam Phoenix jetzt auf Look at Me? Wusste Look at Me, dass Ron Mask the Mask war? Also ja, er würde es wissen, wenn er derjenige ist, der ihn blackmailt. Aber das wissen wir ja auch nicht. Also das ist eigentlich alles nur eine riesen... Ja, nur eine Vermutung, eine Riesenvermutung. Es könnte Look at Me sein. Es könnte aber auch genauso gut jeder andere Bimbo sein, der nicht mal hier in unserer Evidence ist. Es könnte auch Larry sein. Ich meine, ja, Oder Pearly. Ja, auch gut, ich press mal. Detective Look at Me. He's the only one who could have done it.
Ace Detective.
Look at me?
You mean Mask the Mask did it?
Your Honor, the person being tried in the court next to us is not Mask the Mask at all. He is, in actuality, the true murderer of Kane Bullard. Aber wie? Wir haben doch ein Foto.
Order, order! Mr. Wright, explain yourself.
Theft and murder. Which is the more serious crime?
They're not even close. Murder is the more serious crime, of course. It's a capital crime subject to a capital punishment.
Please remember the trial from yesterday, if you would. When Look at Me confessed, there was a huge commotion in the courtroom.
Of course. Famous detective was unmasked as Mask the Mask.
Instead of being convicted of murder, he was found guilty of grand larceny. That was his true objective all along.
To be found guilty.
Mask the Mask had the perfect alibi for when the murder took place. He was stealing the urn at Lordly Taylor. In other words, being found guilty as Mask the Mask was Look at Me's airtight, watertight and unassailable alibi. Ja, aber das hat er immer noch.
A guilty verdict as an alibi?
Well, let's see.
You know, it's almost time.
For what?
For Look at Me's verdict. It was a pretty simple trial after all. If we're going to stop this trial, install that one, we need to do it now. Of course. That's assuming you have proof that the detective was the one who committed the murder. Ja, eben, das ist halt das Ding. Mr. Look at Me's trial has indeed attracted the attention to the entire country. If we were to intrude and fail to provide adequate proof of his true crime, Mrs. Light would be left with no grounds for appeal. I'm not really sure about this. I bet it's only good when our life's the end. Mr. Wright, I believe in you. Mr. DeLite. But please, I'm begging you. Thanks, but my decision will determine the rest of your life. Can I really risk your life like this? Phoenix? What was that? Don't stray, Phoenix. For your client, take the path of trust. That voice, it sounds like Mia. Your Honor, the defense requests an immediate recess. Huh. So that's your answer, huh? Very well. I've decided as well. This court will now take a 20-minute recess. Mr. Wright, when we return, please summon Mr. Luke at me to the stand. Yes, Your Honor. Oktober 14. Okay, kurz vor 12. Achso, wir sind im anderen Courtroom. Well, Sir Detective Atme. I have to say, Mr. Payne, you performed splendidly. Oh, no, Sir Detective Atme. You were the one who... Oh, hi. That's enough. Was gebe ich ihm für eine Stimme? Ach, Discharge. Guck, er hat denselben Namen, also, ne? This court seems no reason to further prolong this trial. This court finds the defendant Luke at me. Stop it! Hold it! Wait! Don't hand down your verdict yet, please. Well, Sir Lawyer, welcome to my courtroom. Who's this hoser, eh? My name is Phoenix Wright, attorney at law. And I wish to file an accusation against this man, Luke at me. Accusation? You accuse Mask the Mask? That man is not Mask the Mask. He's just a ruthless murderer. What? Oh, you waiting now, boy. To be continued. Woohoo! Ey, Leute! Unter einer Stunde! Das hat einen Applaus verdient, ne? Yay. Ja, die Dinge haben sich gedreht. Luke at me war fast weg vom Fenster. Und wir ziehen jetzt wieder schön rein in die Soße. Ja, bin noch nicht fertig mit dem. Und im nächsten Part werden wir herausfinden, vielleicht gibt es sogar 3 Parts, I don't know. Ich weiß nicht, ob wir das in einem Part schon fertig machen. Auf jeden Fall zieht sich die Sache langsam, ich wollte gerade irgendeine Redewendung sagen, aber keine Ahnung. Ich hätte wahrscheinlich nur Schwachsinn erzählt. Ich wollte gerade irgendwie sagen, zieht sich der Sack zu oder so? Ist das eine Redewendung? Nee, ich glaube nicht, oder? Egal. Lassen wir das mit den Redewendungen. Wir sehen uns beim nächsten Mal. Ich hoffe, es hat euch gefallen. Bleibt gespannt. Bis dahin. Macht's gut, Leute. Und tschö.